Hey everybody, today we're going to be talking about RAW format in digital cameras. So whenever you shoot professionally, it's a good idea to shoot in RAW rather than JPEG. There's a very few instances where I can think of somebody needing to shoot in anything other than RAW. JPEG is quick and easy, and it's what a lot of people are used to with point and shoot cameras, previous versions of cell phones that didn't shoot RAW. Before Apple came out with their high efficiency image codec, that's what everybody was using as far as pictures when they would export them to Facebook, Instagram, etc., was a JPEG. When your camera takes a picture, it has to make some decisions based on algorithms that are built into it on what that picture is supposed to look like. And so it throws away a lot of the image data because it processes the photo for you so that you can then download it to your device, or maybe it is your device and then you just need to upload it to social media or wherever you're going to be using it. So as a professional photographer, however, you don't ever want to shoot in JPEG unless, like I say, there's very certain circumstances. Perhaps you're a sports shooter or you work for the AP or somebody and you need to be able to get those photos up quickly so that they can be posted in real time. Other than that, I can't think of any reason why I would ever shoot in anything other than RAW. So what is RAW? So RAW is basically what the image sensor saw at that moment in time. All of the information, the color data, the 12, 14, 16-bit image depth. But the thing about RAW is that when you look at a RAW image after you've downloaded it to your computer or your device, it looks kind of washed out and gray. It's like, oh, that's ugly. What do you need to do with that? That's because there's no processing. There's no sharpening usually. Depending on the camera, there's no processing. There's no noise reduction. There's no color. There's no nothing. It's just whatever the sensor saw. So what does this do for you? Well, as a photographer, you want that because you're going to use image editing software down the road. You're going to be using Lightroom, Photoshop, maybe use Camera Raw, which is a Canon product, and that's how you can edit RAW photos from a Canon camera. So the RAW format is really important because it gives complete creative control to you as the photographer. And that's why we want to shoot in RAW, especially with things like night photography, real estate photography. We don't ever want to shoot in JPEG. If we shoot in JPEG, we lose all of our creative options. You can do some editing afterwards, but it's destructive editing. And we'll get into that later in the video, but really just be aware that RAW is what you want to shoot if you're going to be shooting professionally or if you're going to be doing a lot of edits later on. RAW format allows you 100% creative control. So that's the most important thing you need to take out of this video. So today we're going to look at a RAW photo before and after some edits are made so that you can understand what you can do with the RAW format. So why don't we jump into that? Okay, so this is an image that I took out at Antelope Island State Park here in Utah, and we just kind of lucked out. Early one morning, we came and we were driving down the road to go towards the south end of the island, and there were two bucks and a bunch of does. And so sun was just coming up. It was just perfect. This is the raw image that came straight out of the camera. So you can see very little color information. It looked kind of flat and dull. That's what you want with a raw image because we're going to do some things to edit this image. We're just going to do a very basic edit during this video, but I just want to show you what a raw image looks like and then what an edited image looks like so that you can understand some of the power that goes into raw editing. So let's go ahead and dive into what we're going to do here today. This is the library panel. I've just got one of many, many images open here. We're going to come over to the Develop tab. And you can see we've got a lot of settings that just popped up on our Lightroom. We're going to focus on this right-hand panel over here today. This is laid out kind of logically in the sense that you're going to use this as almost like a workflow. We're not going to go over all the tools today. Just want to show you raw, edited, what that looks like. So we're going to come up here, and typically we're just going to start with auto. That's where I usually start with my wildlife photography and landscape photography, things like that, because I just want to see what Lightroom says it's supposed to look like. And this is going to be very similar. Boom. Okay, this is going to be very similar to what a JPEG would look like coming out of your camera if you were to not be using a raw image and you were instead using a JPEG and letting the camera kind of decide what that photo is supposed to look like. And so this is probably what it would look like, very close to what it would look like if you just had a JPEG. Now, I can instantly see there's some things that I don't really like about this photo. Number one, the deer. The light is shining on him, but he's kind of in shadow. He's kind of dark. And so we're going to do a couple of things to kind of bring out some of those shadow details. And if you're shooting in RAW, you can do these types of things. You have the ability to bring highlights down, bring shadows up, darken the darkest areas of your photo, add contrast, add saturation. So let's go ahead and look at a couple of really quick basic edits that you would look at for a photo like this. Now I'm going to bring up the shadows. So using the automatic settings, Lightroom already brought it up to 34, but let's just see what it looks like if we bring it up a little higher. I mean, that's 100, and that looks better to me because visually I could see a lot more detail in that deer. Now, again, we're not going to do like super heavy edits here, but this gives you an idea of what you can do with a raw image. Um, I'm going to maybe add a little bit of contrast to this, maybe just add some of that contrast. Lightroom has some powerful tools, some AI tools as well to isolate your subject. And Photoshop does as well, and Affinity Photo and all these other software programs. They're using AI really, really heavily now. And it saves you so much time to be able to select the subject and move forward with your edit quickly. The reason I say that is, it wasn't that long ago where we as photographers had to spend a lot of time just isolating the subject in the image to be able to do what we're going to do next. But with one or two clicks, we can definitely isolate this deer and bring up some more shadow detail, maybe make it sharper, maybe add some sharpening, some denoise, whatever we need. But I'm just going to show you something quick here. We're going to go to adaptive subject on the left. And since it's early morning, I'm going to do a warm pop. And you can see if I just hover over it, it kind of throws that edit on. It's isolated the subject. It knows what the deer is, and it's masked it out. And so now it's just applied a little bit of a warm pop to that. I like that. So I'm just going to click on that. Now, up at the top, you've got some controls. You can actually make that more poppy, or you can make it less poppy. And so we're going to leave it at 100 because, like I say, this isn't like a serious edit. We're just going to play with this. Now, the important thing about this is now it's masked. So if I come over here to some of the other tools, like the masking tool in Lightroom, you can see that I have the deer is got a mask over it now. And so now if I just want to work on the deer, I can. So I'm going to click on that mask. And now there's all those tools again. And now I can come in and I can say, well, I'd really like to bring up those shadows just a little bit more. And maybe I'm going to change the color temperature just a little bit. Again, these are just fun edits that we're just throwing on here. Maybe I'm going to add some sharpness because I really like to see, the glint in that deer's eye. And so these are the types of things that you can do with Lightroom that you can't necessarily do very well with a JPEG. And again, this is non-destructive. So I could do these edits with a JPEG as well, but that's a destructive process because the JPEG is kind of like the finished image. Everything's been done. All of the adjustments have been made. And now you're trying to adjust the adjusted image, and it doesn't really work out that well. So hopefully this gives you a better understanding of what RAW is and kind of the things that you can do with software after you've taken your raw image and imported it into your computer and started to edit it. So thank you for joining me today, and we will catch you on the next one.